Wait, please, no, don't throw tomatoes at me based on the title and the thumbnail. I promise I have a rational and empathetic and relatively nuanced take on the whole situation. Please, no! Okay, so if you are in the same circles of the TikTok algorithm as me, you've probably gotten a lot of videos recently of bottles rolling down stairs, and also a lot of videos about Trisha Paytas that have this kind of vibe.
And when I'm back in Chicago, I feel it.
Faceless, I'm just young, rich, and tasteless. P. Never was much of a romance.
I do want to be married. I do. I want a good relationship with a good guy, and for all the right reasons, you know? And,
These videos were made by fans of Trisha Paytas, a long controversial internet star who has pretty much been cancelled for everything under the sun. A big part of what I do on this channel is essentially study and discuss why people get cancelled and how opinions can change of a public personality over time. And I rarely get the opportunity to explore the inverse of that, you know, how a person can get in controversy after controversy and still come out on the other side somewhat likable and endearing. This is a video that I've wanted to do for a long time, because when it comes to internet celebrities, influencers, and cancel culture, coverage of those topics can get a little dicey. There's a lot of sources out there, a lot of different opinions and biases, and it's hard to know who to trust sometimes. Which is why I'm so excited to introduce you guys to today's sponsor, Ground News. Ground News is a website and app that gathers related articles from more than 50,000 sources around the world in one place so you can compare how different outlets cover the same story. Every story comes with a clear breakdown of political bias, factuality, ownership, and headlines of the source's reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. To show you how it works, let's stick with the cancel culture example. A few months ago, Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker was facing criticism after he made controversial, sexist, anti-gay comments in a speech. Ground News found that out of 153 sources covering this story, 38% leaned left while 26% leaned right. You can literally see the biases stacked up against one another with how these articles are titled. Right-wing headlines focus on the fact that they believe he's being unfairly criticized and that he has no regrets in his speech, whereas more left-leaning outlets are heavily criticizing his words, going as far as to say that they would kick the nation into Christian nationalist hell. Another feature I'd like to highlight is the blind spot feed, which highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. If you've been here before, you know just how seriously I take research and reporting and how that impacts my coverage of complex topics on this channel. I live it, I breathe it, I have several degrees in it, I know how important media literacy is, and how essential it is to check your own biases and know the facts. For more, you can go to ground.news/Kayla Says, or you can use the link in my description box down below to get 40% off of the Vantage plan, which is what I use to get access to all of Ground News' features. They're a wonderful organization doing wonderful work, and I sincerely hope that you will check them out, and thank you so much again to Ground News for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so since 2007, Trisha Paytas has been one of the most prolific trolls that the internet ever did see. She spent the earliest parts of her career doing anything and everything she could to get in the spotlight, going on TV shows and starring in music videos, all while maintaining a presence on the internet. Now remember, I said we're going to try to be unbiased, we're going to try to be nuanced, we're going to try to give a full context to this character that we have seen infiltrating all of our screens for the better part of 15 years now. So with that being said, here is a pretty exhaustive list of all of the controversies that Trisha Paytas has been involved in within the last decade or so, maybe more. Throughout the years, she has perpetuated racial stereotypes, she's made very ignorant statements about different groups of people, she has co-opted marginalized identities in ways that many people deem to be problematic. Although I do want to acknowledge here that although she has been criticized in the past for quote-unquote coming out as transgender and also using inappropriate gender terminology like identifying as a chicken nugget or some shit, she has clarified that she identifies as non-binary, and up until the last time I checked, she does use she/they pronouns. She's been accused of pathologically lying in order to spite people. For example, a big point of contention in the Frenemies lore is that Trisha at one point claimed to have been molested by a teacher and there's no arrest record. She has been accused of being abusive toward a former partner and her current partner. As far as the allegations that she was physically abusive toward her current partner Moses, I'm not showing the alleged image here because it can be potentially triggering and also I think it could break TOS. But yeah, a while ago a bunch of leaked text messages came out allegedly involving Trisha's current partner partner Moses, in which he describes being physically abused by her. She has been accused of defending her current partner after he was accused of engaging in abusive actions toward other women. A former ex of Moses claimed that he stealthed her during intercourse, which is a form of rape. For legal purposes, Moses has denied these allegations and claims that he only met this woman one time. Trisha has also made some ignorant comments in regards to the religion of Judaism over the years, most notably making some ignorant comments about the faith on Frenemies, where former co-host Ethan Klein called her out on her anti-Semitism multiple times.
He tricked me. I thought he was a full Jew, and then he's like, actually, my mom's only Jewish. I'm like,
That's full Jew.
Okay, but his dad's like Catholic.
You want Jewish purity.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get.
You gotta stop, bro. It's weird how you fetishize Jewish people.
It's not fetishizing.
It
it's wanting
totally
to be in the upper echelon of the world. I want a free trip to Israel. Yeah.
What does it have to do with...
Because you guys get privileges, like getting a free trip to Israel. I would love a free trip to Israel. How come I don't get that?
Well, I'm sure you have other privilege. Like, how about not getting coins tossed at your feet and being called, pick it up, dirty Jew?
You know what? People have tossed bacon at me and said, eat it, pig.
No, that's because you're fat.
Well, whatever.
But that's not okay, dude. It's weird.
Why? Because I like Jewish people?
Well, because, because you don't understand.
Jewish
No,
people.
because you don't.
She has described herself as pro-Israel in the past, although recently she has clarified saying that she is now, quote, Team Palestine.
I'm Team Palestine, if I'm going to just take a side in this situation. I'm all for you being independent, so go Palestinians.
Who's you? I'm not a Palestinian.
I say to the people out there, go Palestinians. I'm on your side too. I'm on your side more, actually.
That's not going to help you with your Israeli TikToks.
Oh yeah, Israeli.
I will say that this is not the full list of controversies. Trisha has had a very long and prolific life on the internet, and there are plenty of videos cataloging every single bad thing that she's ever done, but these are the highlights for lack of a better term. Every supporting article screenshot that I have shown in this video is also available for full viewing in the description down below. And now that all of this necessary context is out there, we have to talk about my favorite part, what all of this actually means. So now that we've talked about Trisha's controversies, I think this might be a good opportunity to unpack what makes her content so appealing to people after all of these years. So on the surface, I think that Trisha's online antics over the years have an appeal akin to like trashy reality TV. Plenty of people have tuned in to watch her cry on her kitchen floor over her various struggles with mental health and relationships and what have you. You know, whether you're commiserating with her or you're watching her and going, well, my life sucks, but I'm glad that's not me, you're still, you know, hanging on her every word. But if you watch Trisha talking about her struggles, especially in some of those earlier TikToks that I played at the beginning of this video, you will notice that there is something kind of real there at the same time. Like when she talks about her struggle to find happiness and how she doesn't fit in, and that she's a person who deals with a lot of trauma and a lot of baggage, I do believe her. And I do believe that under all of the shock value bullshit, there is a person who needs help and needs support, and due to one circumstance or another, probably never got what they needed. Am I saying that absolves Trisha of any wrongdoing? No. But despite all of her problematic behaviors, Trisha is more sympathetic as a figure to me when it's not, you know, the big flashy, distracting clown show. And unfortunately for her, the height of her popularity was one big clown show.
We have to wait till Hanukkah and then we can do.
Oh, we lit all 8 of them today.
Oh, you're going to hell.
Because the cool kids sat in the back of the bus when I went to school. Isn't that funny?
It is funny.
Yeah.
That is a really good observation about race. Wow.
Well, you're fat. You're fatty.
Doesn't bother me.
Keep eating, fatty.
Oh my god. This is horrible. I hate it.
Jew! Look at the giant dreidel!
Trisha, you can't just scream Jew.
Now, I think we're all collectively far enough from frenemies that we can acknowledge that it was a really good internet show that probably did a lot of psychological harm to everybody involved. If you're completely unfamiliar, Frenemies was an online podcast show hosted by Ethan Klein of H3 Productions and Trisha Paytas. Brief lore dump here, but Ethan and Trisha first connected after Ethan made fun of her in a YouTube video in 2019. After a rocky start, their relationship improved to the point where Trisha was invited onto the H3 podcast to participate in a segment inspired by The Bachelor, in which Trisha was set up on a date with Ethan Klein's brother-in-law Moses. And from there, Frenemies was born, and for a while, you know, the 2020 to 2021 era, this was like the show on the internet. Ethan and Trisha, both chaotic in their own unique ways, undeniably had good chemistry together, and in some ways also brought out the worst in each other, and as you can see by the clips I've played from the show so far, would tend to provoke each other into saying the worst or most controversial or most outlandish thing possible given the situation. Additionally, the show served the purpose of being sort of the front page of the internet, with Trisha and Ethan making commentary about drama happening in the online community. The duo is known for spearheading the infamous takedown of David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad. So this was like the golden era of Frenemies, right? Everybody was cutting all these fun moments and putting them into TikTok compilations so people could watch them over and over, and there were plenty of fun inside jokes and memes, and it felt like everyone was going after the right guys for once. And then the cracks in the foundation started to show a bit, and fans started getting really parasocial with some really serious issues, and we're gonna talk about what happened next. If you are unfamiliar, a big characteristic development of Frenemies was that Trisha and Ethan would often fight, whether it was about the show, or about, you know, political issues, or about issues within their own families, because, you know, Trisha was dating Ethan's wife's brother, so things got very personal there. And eventually they had a blow up that was just too big to reconcile. It involved leaked text messages and multiple family members and people who otherwise had private lives. And it was something that an audience probably should not have been there to spectate over. I was a pretty avid Age 3 fan at the time. I don't really watch them anymore these days, but without getting into too much granular detail here, the whole blow up did not exactly make me view Trisha in a very favorable way. I think all of the stress from the very public blowout kind of exacerbated her mental illness, and I think it's safe to say that everyone who was involved in the whole blow up and ending of Frenemies probably regrets how they handled it to some degree. I'm not in the room, I don't know for sure. That is just the vibe that I currently get based on what has and hasn't been said. And I think many people, myself included, thought that after Frenemies ended, Trisha was kinda done. Like, she definitely did not portray herself in a favorable light during that time, and it just seemed like new controversies kept piling up in addition to the ones that continue to haunt her. So I think there were two major factors that started to turn the tide for Trisha's reputation post-Frenemies, and those were the death of Queen Elizabeth and the cancellation of Colleen Ballinger.
Oh my god.
So in September of 2022, Trisha gave birth to her first baby, Malibu Barbie Paytas. Trisha's whole pregnancy was kind of a big deal on the internet around that time, because people knew that she desperately wanted to be a mom, but thought for a while that she was unable to conceive naturally. A lot of fans of Trisha enthusiastically followed her journey, and then there were some more pessimistic folks who just wanted to see the novelty of the former internet troll Trisha Paytas becoming a mother. And that all came to a head in the fall of 2022 when Trisha was still pregnant and getting ready to deliver a baby, and Queen Elizabeth died. She died on September 8th. And so the day that Queen Elizabeth died, there was this rumor that Trisha had gone into labor the same day, which she later dispelled on Instagram by showing everyone that she was still pregnant. And the ongoing joke of the week was that Trisha Paytas was going to give birth to Queen Elizabeth reincarnate. Trisha was mostly seen as a good sport about this, and I think some people started to feel a little bit bad for her. You know, she had wanted this pregnancy for a long time, and what was supposed to be a more intimate moment with her family, although I guess you could argue that considering that she did document it online, turned into this worldwide meme. And it's a meme that the kid has to live with, and you know, what hell on earth it is to be perceived. From here, I think Trisha entered more of a mommy vlogger arc, although less of a typical one. Because Trisha and Moses are weird, and I don't even think that Trisha would even disagree with me on that. Her house is incredibly bizarre. She's always talking about some kind of fixation she has with pop culture, or she's doing some silly trend. The only difference is that the baby and now the babies happen to be there, but she's still very much authentically herself, for better or worse, depending on who you ask. Meanwhile, in the summer of last year, Trisha found herself in another podcast controversy where she came out looking like the better of the two. Trisha ended up recording 3 episodes of a podcast called Oversharing with fellow internet creature Colleen Ballinger. Those episodes were of course recorded prior to Colleen's massive cancellation. And during the fallout of said cancellation, it was revealed that while working with Trisha, Colleen had made fun of her and her OnlyFans in particular, and the whole thing gave very mean girl vibes. This was one of those moments in Trisha's life, I think, where the clown show, the circus, got pulled back, and underneath that you saw somebody who had been taken advantage of and victimized and bullied, for a lack of a better term, in a way that was really kind of like sinister and ugly, and it cut very deep, and it kind of evoked a personal feeling for viewers who were just kind of watching this all play out. And that kind of made me understand why people gravitate toward Trisha and why they still do. I think this was all really put into perspective for me a couple days ago when the chorus of the song We Made You by Eminem was trending on TikTok, and people were doing the dance that Trisha had done in that music video where she played a quote-unquote fat Jessica Simpson. And you know, it was a lot of mid-sized to plus-sized girls feeling confident and feeling themselves and praising Trisha for having the courage to very much be herself despite all odds. That, in my opinion, is the appeal of Trisha Paytas. She's the anti-influencer. Everything about her is so bizarre and so out there that it comes back around to being relatable and making you want to root for her. So, does this mean that Trish automatically gets forgiven for every problematic thing that she's ever done, every ethnic or minority group that she's ever harmed, anyone that she's had a negative interpersonal relationship with as a result of her own actions? No. And if you can believe it or not, my answer gets significantly more annoying than that. So I try to keep my stance on this as morally and ideologically consistent as possible, but when it comes to the question as to whether or not to forgive Trisha for all of the problematic things that she's done in the past, or forgive anyone who's been canceled for a particularly problematic thing, I always think it's up to the communities who have been harmed to make that determination. Trisha has done some legitimately harmful things to Black people and Jewish people and trans people, so it would be a little weird for me, a person who is a part of none of those groups, to be like, I have absolved Trisha of any wrongdoing because she apologized or because she has learned from this behavior. I don't know if she has, and I don't know if she's ever going to truly engage with the harm that she has caused. There are things that I've watched her do where I'm like, that's unacceptable and you should know better. And there are other people who have been in your position where that same kind of grace has not been afforded to them. I also think that in the case of Trisha specifically, this gets complicated because of a couple things. One, her rabbit hole goes so deep that people watching her in present day on any social media platform might not necessarily know about all of the things that she's done and the antics she's been a part of. I went through some of the main ones here, but I'm sure there's stuff that I don't even know. So in some ways, I feel like this is a case of like people who currently watch her not having enough information to make a contextual determination of whether or not they should continue to support and or platform her. The other issue is like, Trisha describes herself as a troll and has implied to her audience over the years that nobody should take anything that she says seriously, and that she's ignorant and uneducated and she just kind of like says things. And so because that has been her persona for so long, it's kind of difficult to know like, who is Trish actually? What does she truly stand for? To me, and to a lot of people, Trisha seems like she has grown and matured and is thankful for the life that she's living now and her 2 children. But to me, it's like, how could I possibly know that? This is a person who has dedicated her life to sharing everything with the world and with her audience, and I still feel like I truly don't know her. And neither do you. And I'm really not trying to come at this from like a holier than thou perspective here, in the sense that like, I'm saying I personally have never done anything wrong in my life, and that Trisha has no place being revered or celebrated by anyone. She seems to have found her peace, she seems to be doing well, and who am I to like take that away from her? It's not a question of taking away her peace so much as it is taking away her platform, her influence, because there are things that she's done that I don't necessarily agree with even now. But she's been such a mystery, a spectacle, a point of intrigue for so long that I feel like some people don't even like view her as a person, they just view her as a cartoon character that routinely shows up in their TikTok feed. And I think she probably likes it that way. I know this is gonna be a divisive one. I tried my very best to be fair here to both sides, and I do think it's an interesting topic. So you guys should definitely let me know how you feel about it in the comments down below. Please be nice to one another. And while you're down in the comments fighting for your life, you can also head on over to the description to follow me at all the social media listed in this beautiful link tree. And you can also follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much, you guys, and I'll see you next time.
All these years have gone by. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified, and I see the look in your eyes.